It's one of the most iconic moments in the history of golf. The locale, the 18th hole on the stadium course at the Players' Championship. The opponent had won 10 of his previous 16 starts. The golf world was looking for someone who could tame a tiger.
Be the right club.
And with a 6-iron from 179, the moment was born.
Be the right club.
Welcome to the Be the Right Club Today podcast, presented by Makefield Putters.
Be the right club today.
Now, here are your hosts, Hal Sutton and Mark Greenhouse.
Welcome back to the Be the Right Club Today podcast, presented by Makefield Putters. Hal Sutton, back with Mark Greenhouse. Hal, we missed you for a couple weeks.
Oh, Mark, I missed y'all too, but I was in heaven for golfers. I was at Pebble Beach and Cypress Point. Got to play a couple of days in a row. The weather was beautiful, but I thought about y'all.
Well, how did the golf go, though? I mean, I know you're kind of working your way back from some injuries. How did it feel?
Well, I have to tell you, I did not play the back tees. I bogeyed number one at Pebble, and then I birdied 2, 3, and 4. And missed about an 8-footer on number 8. Picked it up on 10. But other than that, I played pretty solid, not bad. And at Cypress Point, I birdied 4 and 5 back-to-back. And then I came to my senses by the time we got to 9 and started making a few bogeys, and then hit it in water on 16 at the famous par 3 there. So, you know, it was fun. I hadn't played in a long time. Had a lot of great memories from there, and produced a couple more memories from there.
Well, there you go. Well, tonight we have the great Phil Blackmar with us. And Phil's going to bring a perspective you don't hear every day. He's lived the grind. He's analyzed the game. He's taught people how to see golf differently. And Phil, I know Hal cast a line and you took the bait to be with us here tonight. And we're excited to dig into that perspective. So welcome to the show.
Well, thanks. I just hope to be the right guy today.
You always are, Phil.
Yeah. And I understand with us. I understand that you have questions to ask Hal too, so I'm going to get to that in a little bit.
I look forward to kind of picking his brain a little bit.
Okay. Well, I want to start off. I mean, for those fans that know you or may not know you, I mean, you're a tall guy. What are you, 6'7"?
Yeah, I used to be. I was almost 6'8", but gravity is winning. And
right.
I don't know how much I've gone the other direction, but it's a fair amount. So I claim maybe 6'6" now, but I'm still pretty good size.
Yeah, so, growing up, I mean, everybody gets fitted for clubs these days, but growing up and back when I first started, when Hal first started, we didn't do a whole lot of club fitting. We kind of pulled stuff off the shelf, maybe tinkered with it a little bit. At what height, though, at what point did you have to go out and do something different, get some longer clubs? When did that really happen?
Yeah, I grew late, Mark. I was only 6'1" starting my senior year of high school.
Oh, wow.
I grew 3 inches my senior year of high school, 3 inches my first year of college. Fortunately, my dad was a club maker and very fine player also, and I have short arms. So if you actually fit me off of a ruler, I should have clubs that are 9 inches over length, if you want to fit that way, which doesn't work good. And the thing that people don't remember, I ended up playing clubs that were an inch over length. That on today's standards would only be a half inch over length, or maybe a quarter inch. But at the time, I used a 40-inch 2-iron. And the reason I didn't use longer clubs, because the longer the club was, I had a lot of club head speed being so tall. The longer the club got, the more club head speed I had, and the more spin I put on the ball. I couldn't control my irons at all. The ball would just shoot up into the wind. I couldn't control it. Hal, I read a comment you were talking about before the Players in 2000, talking about trying to find a shaft that you could get a flatter ball flight with your scoring clubs. And when I went longer with the shafts, I went the other direction. The ball went too high, too much spin, it was uncontrollable.
Phil, that's good that you pointed that out because, early on in my career, Raymond Floyd told me, he said, Hal, if you want to be a success out here, you have to hit it pin high all the time. Well, in order to hit it pin high all the time, you have to flight the ball the way you want to. And, you watch, Scotty Scheffler is one of the best in the world at hitting it pin high all the time. So still, those things are still true.
They are, and Hogan, I think it was Hogan who famously said, if you want to control your distance, you got to control your trajectory first.
Yep.
Well, so let's go back to the fact that you grew so much so quickly. How did that impact your golf game? I mean, adding all those inches, I mean, we see it not from necessarily from a height perspective, but we've seen like guys like David Duval go from a heavier set guy to really skinny and, almost like it seemed like it impacted his golf game. When I was at Clemson, Chris Patton, the amateur champion, he weighed 323 pounds, I think I saw him on the scale at. I mean, there had to be a tremendous impact with growing that quickly.
Well, I grew up playing a lot of baseball also, and it doesn't matter what length or what part of my career, my age that you might go to, I never hit it straight. I never knew where in the heck the thing was going. I hit it far, and I had a good imagination, a good short game, and I developed the ability to make a score. But I played the game opposite of Hal. Hal hit a lot of fairways, controlled the ball. I admired his game. He played the game I wanted to play. I never found a way to do that. And so as I kept getting taller, I kept hitting it crooked. I just hit a little bit further crooked. And so I just went with it. And it was frustrating at times, but that was my style of play. I played the tour for 16 years. And in 16 years, I never finished in the top 150 in driving accuracy, not once. And only twice in the top 125 in greens regulation. So I survived for a long time being a very marginal ball striker. I could hit as good of a shot as anybody. I just couldn't repeat it. And so that's how I played. So yeah, I got taller, but I was already like that before I got tall.
So I have to bring up something right here. Isn't the art of the game, or what we're supposed to do, is just score? Get the ball in the hole. Isn't that what it is? That, we're too into looking perfect these days, and I don't know. I don't think either one of us was very perfect. So, but we still played for a long time.
Well, you played differently than I did, but we both knew how to score. You're exactly right. And I did some teaching with the Hall of Fame instructor, Jim Flick. And he used to say, there are teachers and there's coaches. Teachers teach the appearance of a golf swing. Coaches teach people how to play. And they're not necessarily the same thing. And he would look at a swing, somebody with a good swing that didn't know how to play, and he called them empty suit golfers. And I think that's what you're talking about, Hal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and that from that perspective, 3 wins on the PGA Tour, and before we get to the wins, is there anyone that got away from you that you kind of look back on and said, "Man, that's the one I wish I had"?
Yeah, I know which one you're trying to talk about, and the Players Course, Hal won there twice. It was not suited for my game. I was long and crooked, and '85 was my first year there, and I played decently for a while, and then '86, '87, '88, '89, and '90, I missed the cut. And I swore after about '89, I said, I'm never coming back, because it doesn't matter how big the purse is, 0% of zero, or any number, 0% of any number will always be zero. And I kept coming back. And then in '91, I don't know what happened. I still was hitting it lousy, but I figured out how to get it around that year. The course was playing fast, so I could hit 1-irons off the tee. I didn't have to hit drivers. And I birdied on Sunday. I made the cut. Sunday, I birdied 11, 12, 15, and 16. Elkington 3-putted 17. So I'm standing on the 17th tee with a 1-shot lead. And the wind is in our face. And I was going to hit a little punch 8-iron in there that day, which is different than the sand wedges the guys hit today. And that hole's cut right. And I wasn't prepared to be in that situation. I was a very aggressive player. And I started out aimed at the middle of the green. But I just birdied 4 out of the last 6. And as I stood there looking at it, I kind of kept inching a little further right. And by the time I took the club back, I had envisioned this little punched cut that landed right at the crest of that slope and rolled right down into that right side on that right pocket over there. And that wasn't a very smart thing to do, I'll admit it. And I leaned on it and hit it in the water and made my double and finished third. But the thing that's interesting, and how I think this will resonate with you, is I walked off the 72nd hole. My wife was standing there, Carol, and she's looking at me thinking I'm going to be all upset. And I said, I beat all the best players in the world but 2. And she's like, wow. And the result of that was in 1992, I played in the final group with Nick Faldo Saturday and Sunday. I ended up finishing second. That year I walked off and I said, and because my swing just felt horrible, but somehow I was able to score. I walked off. I said, I just don't hit it good enough to beat all these guys. And the opposite mentality. And the result was in 94, I only made 3 cuts and lost my card. So it speaks loudly to how you how you deal with things that happen, the expectations that you have, those sort of things. It's a perfect example there of what you can do to yourself.
So our verbiage to ourself inside our head is so important. Our self-talk. I used to tell Freddie, over here I had somebody being positive, and over here I had somebody being negative on my shoulder, and which one of those guys was I going to listen to? And, it really just in my head.
So I want to ask you a question then, Hal, about that. I was reading in 97, you were coming back, starting to play a little bit better. You were at the U.S. Open, and you talked about how much you had struggled with others' expectations of you, which surprised me because I always thought of you as being, so commanding and so full of yourself. And the way you played the game is surprised. It was really cool how open you were in your interviews. And then in 2000, we go to the before the players ever started, and you're talking about, yeah, Tiger can be beat. I can beat Tiger. I beat Tiger the last time I played with him. He can be beat. And lo and behold, you beat Tiger by a shot there with that beautiful 6-iron in the last hole. It is incredible what you tell yourself and the things you feel, isn't it?
Well, I think part of my problem early on, Phil, is that I tried to conceal my feelings. And, we all have inward feelings about good or bad, and I felt like it would show weakness if I told everybody that I worried about everybody else's expectations. So, at some point, I had matured enough that, I had to come to grips with what everybody else thought I should do, and try to teach myself to be happy and content with whatever I was able to do. And, I still struggle with that. I still want to live up to the expectations. I mean, that's why I don't play much golf anymore, because I have my own expectations, and, I can't live up to those. I spent my whole life, as you did, trying not to be mediocre, and I'm really good at mediocre now. So,
Well, you had expectations heaped upon you much different than I did on me. You came right out of, you came out of college, and then you win the PGA so quickly after that, and with your looks and the way you play the game, people were talking the next Jack Nicklaus about you, and so those expectations were huge that were heaped upon you.
well, when that happens, if you're not winning constantly, uh, everybody's talking about what's wrong, what's wrong. I mean, look at Scotty Scheffler right now. I mean, he has won and won and won, and all of a sudden he's finished second or third a few times. And wonder why he's not winning. People that let that utter out of their mouth, they have no idea how hard winning is, do they, Phil?
Now, they don't have any idea. So let me ask you this. When you hear that stuff that you admitted bothered you so much, and Scotty's hearing all those same things, Tiger heard all those things, that McIlroy has heard those things. How do you deal with them? What do you do? How do you shut them out?
Well, I was never very good at shutting it out, to be honest with you. I wish I knew the answer to that. And, honestly, I've seen a little difference in Scotty the last 2 or 3 months. He's a little bit shorter with the way he answers things. And I understand. I know. Because all of a sudden, he feels like everybody else is taking ownership of him and what he does. And that's hard to deal with. And, I feel for like Tiger right now, he's struggling. I mean, let's just go ahead and say this. I mean, Tiger's problem is that he wants to continue to be Tiger Woods so that everybody can say he's the great Tiger Woods. He cannot stand not to compete and not to compete at the highest level. That's why he's doing the things he's doing. I think personally, if Tiger would say, hey, I've done all I can do, and now I'm just going to do other things. I'm going to give up trying to be the great Tiger Woods again, and just beat Tiger Woods, I think he'd be on the road to recovery.
Well, and to your point, having somebody to advise you on that kind of stuff. When you and I came up, like Lanny Watkins talks about, he says, "Well, I had a sports psychologist. It was the bartender at the hotel bar that night. There were no teams. You didn't have a team around you,
Yeah.
and to have somebody share advice like that with you is so important. And I think that's where Scotty is very fortunate with Randy Smith, his coach, with such a strong family. His mom and dad are great. His family is fantastic. It is important to have a team around you to advise you that way, isn't it?
Oh, very much so. People that care and be truthful with you. I mean, there's times that probably I was on edge and said something I shouldn't have said, and my dad was in my face saying, "Hey, you can't say that, or you can't do this." He was always truthful with me. I gravitated to Jackie Burke because he did the exact same thing, truthful with me.
Yeah,
Not
Jackie.
always telling me what I want to hear.
Right.
So what would both of you tell Aaron Rai right now? I mean, watching him win the PGA Championship, that back nine was darn near flawless in terms of ball striking. And that putt goes in on 17, and his reaction was one that he was almost dumbfounded of where he stood when that ball went in the hole, and he almost didn't know what to do with himself.
I personally, I think it's very important for you to know who you are, and that it's easy when you start having some success with the expectations people heap upon you, with the expectations you heap upon yourself, you lose sight a little bit of who you are. And you start to look at things a little differently. Maybe your value system changes slightly. It's not who you are consistent with who you are. For him to look at that and be surprised on 17 that ball went in the hole, man, he's kind of just out there playing. He's not playing with expectations he can win. Now, the next time he has that putt, he's going to expect it to go in the hole. And if it doesn't, how does he deal with that? And so I think it's important that you go back and always have a baseline. Who was I? Who am I? Let me try to stay true to that and not true to what someone else thinks I should be.
Well, it sounded to me like he was pretty aware of who he was, with why he wore two gloves and why he puts the covers on his irons. And, he knows where he came from. He knows how hard his dad worked to make it all happen for him. I mean, it's a great story, and I was happy for him.
So with that said, I'm going to take you back, Phil, back to around in 1995 at the BC Open, playing with somebody on this podcast as well. What was it like watching that kind of round in a final round to win a golf tournament?
Well, it was the best ball striking round I've ever seen. Made 11 birdies that day? What was par then? Par changed there. He shot 61. Was par 71 that year?
I think it was
11
71.
pars, 11 birdies and a bogey. The 11 birdies he made in a bogey. And I don't think he ever hit an iron shot other than the one bogey that he made. I don't think he ever hit an iron shot outside of 12 feet, I think, the entire day. It's a good driving course there. We were talking about Endicott, New York, the BC Open. It's a good driving course, tree-lined, old school kind of golf course, not overly large greens. And he put on a display of ball striking that was phenomenal. And he made some of the putts, and Shoe 61 comes out of nowhere. And it was to get to watch that. There were a couple of rounds that I've watched in my career that I was very fortunate. And that was one of them. I got to watch VJ the first couple of days when he won the PGA at Sahalee, and golly, was he playing good at that time. But Hal's ball striking that day in Endicott was just off the charts.
Well, the bogey was on 15, hard driving hole, water to the left, and I drove it in the trees to the right and pitched out. Really didn't really try to. I actually had to go right of the green if I remember correctly. So, kind of blocked myself out off the tee there. Fearful.
Why would you put that one hole to talk about? You make 11 birdies, these incredible shots, and you're going to talk about the bogey that you made.
Well,
So
hey, I'm
what?
a true golfer. What can I say? I'm still trying to be the best I can be.
All right. So that tee shot, you were fearful. You just said it, Mark.
Yeah.
You heard him. He said
I
fearful,
did.
right?
I heard it.
Water down the left-hand side. Well, the 18th hole at the Players is a more demanding tee shot than the 15th at Endicott,
Yeah.
by far. Water down the left-hand side. How were you able to, and twice, but in particular in 2000 with Tiger right there, how were you able to play that shot at that time and put it in the fairway?
Well, I was a whole lot more mature in 2000. I knew what I had to do. And
5 years later, come on.
yeah, I was, though. I had gotten my confidence back. In 95, I hadn't won in quite a few years. And, you get fearful. I mean, even though I had won several times by then, I mean, did I have it anymore? And remember I talked about this guy on my left shoulder that's real positive, and this guy on my right shoulder that was negative. I guess I listened to the guy on my right shoulder right before that tee shot. I guess I drove it great that day too. I don't know why it crept in then, but that's what golf is all about, right there.
It's interesting, those two guys that are talking to you and both filling up your ears. I asked John Cook one time, said, okay, John won, 11, 12 times on the regular tour and the same on the Champions Tour. I said, you stand on the 18th tee, tied for the lead. There's water down the left side. Do you see the water? And I thought he made a great comment. He says, yeah, you see the water. You look at the water at first, and then the shot you envision includes the water, so it doesn't surprise you. So that guy that's sitting on that shoulder who's talking, over there, hey, don't hit it in the water, don't hit it in the water, don't hit it in the water. You disarm him a little bit by recognizing that he's there, but you choose to kind of say, okay, that's fine. I know you're there, but I'm not going to pay you any attention.
Well, I didn't see the water in 2000, to be honest with you. I knew that Tiger was going to hit his Stinger 2-iron, and the only club in my bag that I could out-hit that with was my driver. And I'd played 3-wood off of that tee the first 3 days because the fairway is wider for a 3-wood than it is a driver. But I knew I wanted the last shot in to know what I had to do. So I knew what I had to do.
Somewhere there in the mid 90s, you went back to work with your old coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things y'all worked on was your miss under pressure had started to go to the left.
Right.
So obviously there in 2000, you didn't have that any longer. What did you change that took that miss out of play?
I had great control over completing my backswing and not trying to create speed right out of at the beginning of my downswing. So when you get nervous, one of the things that I see a lot of people do is they don't complete their backswing and they're trying to get speed immediately. And what happens is your body cannot stay up. It's everything has to happen in a sequence. And I got it more sequenced would be the way I would describe that, where body was center and the arms were moving at a speed faster because it's further out. But, I didn't leave the body behind. And, when people, as we age, left is really in play for a right-handed player because we can't turn our body as fast. And our arms can remain fast. Well, where does that put the ball? Left all the time. And Phil, when we were playing the tour, if you play 3 or 4 weeks in a row, by the time your third or fourth week gets there, you're aiming further to the right to compensate for that. And, it's a tough game, man. It's a tough game. You got to stay on top of it all the time to play it great.
So, Mark, I'm sorry, I'm going to steal one more here.
Go ahead.
Real quick. It's so you talk about how pressure makes you lose that speed. You get quick at the top. You lose your rhythm, your timing. You went and saw Jackie Burke, and I asked you on an airplane there in '97 why you were playing so much better, started playing better. You said, well, Phil, I went and saw Jackie Burke. And Jackie said, Hal, you got a chance to put speed in your swing one time. It damn sure better be the right time.
That's right.
And
And
there might have been a couple beers that we had in there or something. But it was just you and I on that airplane. So when Jackie told you that, this is interesting. Was that a physical tip or a mental tip to be able to put the speed in your swing at the right time?
it was probably more mental than anything else. You know, uh, you- having enough length to play the tour was always important. I was never short, but I was never long either. I was kind of middle of the road in terms of length. I actually won total driving one year, but it was more because I was accurate and I wasn't way down the list in distance. But, you know, always trying to hit it hard. We were always trying to hit it hard. You know, it's funny. Nick Price said to me one time I was playing with him, he said, "Why don't you swing hard, Hal?" I said, "I'm trying. I think I am." Oh, me.
I want to take a quick break and remind everybody about Makefield Putters, our proud sponsor. If you go out to makefieldgolf.com, you can check them out. Made in the USA, all the technology, the radial cusp technology helps you get an equator strike, reduce skid effect, all the different styles, the 3-weight system, the mallet putters, the new blade putter. You can do personalization. They make them in different colors for you. They'll customize them. Anything that you want, they can pretty much do it with it. I know Hal's putting with it. I'm putting with it. Our other host, Todd Burrell's putting with it. Todd's selling them like crazy, Hal.
Well, I've been making a lot. I told you I made some birdies while I was out there, and I followed through with some of those putts, making them. You know, it's fun to watch the ball go in the hole.
Yeah, and I also want to remind everybody about Peak Vision sunglasses. See like you've never seen before with Peak Vision sunglasses. The difference is immediate. Get ready for the season and use the promo code GS15 at peakvision.com. That's promo code GS15. And don't forget to go out to the BeTheRightClubToday.com and check out, obviously, all of the podcasts. You can go check them out all on that site, as well as there's a shop out there now that you can get your favorite shirt, hoodie, whatever, with our logo and Be the Right Club Today on it. So there you have it. And that's what we got going for us today.
You hit at least 18 putts around, more like low 30s. So you better make sure you got the right putter in your hand. And I don't think people have spent enough time trying to make sure they have that. Hi, I'm Hal Sutton. 25 years ago, I had the right club at the right moment, and it made a huge difference. Today, I've teamed up with Makefield Putters. I now use the right putter today. You see, Makefield has unique radial cusp technology. The ball releases faster off the face and keeps the ball rolling more on its axis. The result is a straighter putt, more on target. When you get everything just right, the putter that fits you just right, the one that you believe in, your confidence should be oozing out of you. So I would encourage all consumers, go to the Makefield website and educate yourself and get fitted correctly, get the right putter in your hand, and there's hope for better putting ahead.
You may have heard that polarized lenses are correct for the golf course. Stop! Polarized lenses can distort depth and diminish detail. Peak Vision's patented dual zone lens is non-polarized. You get 3 times more visual information for sharper reads, faster reactions, and total focus on fairways and greens. Don't buy polarized sunglasses. See like you've never seen before. Visit peakvision.com and use the code GS15. That's code GS15. Back to the Be the Right Club Today podcast presented by Makefield Putters. Hal Sutton, Mark Greenhouse, Phil Blackmar is our guest tonight. And both of you guys, your last wins on the PGA Tour was the Shell Houston Open, no less. A little parity between the two of you.
It's a great second shot golf course. Lot of trouble, a lot of risk there around those greens at the Woodlands and the wind blowing and whatnot. I really like that golf course. I think you would as well, Hal. It really fits your game.
Yeah, it was, great golf course. I think I've told this on the podcast before. I was on the board when they voted to go to Redstone away from the Woodlands. And I was the only guy that voted against the move. And Schindekler, who was owner of Redstone, came up to me and he said, "I want to know why you voted against it." And I said, "Well, the reason why I voted against it was because everybody loved to go to the Woodlands. It was a great family spot, great restaurants, great shopping, great hotels, everything. And then the golf course, everything. You never knew who was going to win because there were eagles, birdies, doubles, triples, all sorts of things. In the last two holes, anything could happen in the last two holes. I mean, what's better for golf than that sort of thing?" And I said, I just couldn't vote for that in good conscience. So, and that was the reason why I voted against it. I love the golf course.
Hey, I chipped it in the water on 17 on Sunday there when I won, made a 6-footer for double. And,
Oh my. I did.
fun.
Now that you bring that up, I remember that, but I'd forgotten.
I remember that. Yeah, I do
I
remember
thought I
that.
hit a perfect tee shot and I ran down through the fairway. But one funny story from that week that was pretty good was I was playing with Larry Rinker, and we were on I think it was number 11, Friday's round, I think, and I was off the right front of the green. The hole was front right, and I hit a chip a little firm, but it hit the hole, it hit the flagstick and dropped straight in. And we're walking over to the 12th hole. And you remember how Larry can be, Hal, and he looks at me and says, "Yeah, like that would have gone off the green if it hadn't hit the flagstick," kind of a comment, right? So we get up there on number 12 and that skinny green, and I'm again off the green just a little bit, but I'm only about 20 feet from the hole. So I told my caddy, "Why don't you take that flagstick out?" And I took an 8-iron and I hit that little chip shot, and it got about 5 feet short of the hole, and I turned and I listened and I looked right at Larry, and when I heard it go in, I went, "Hey, that was going a little slower, wasn't it?" You got to have a little rat in you.
Phil, you had a great short game. There was no doubt about that. So
I enjoyed the short game. My dad instilled that in me. I still do. I'm not as good as I used to be, but I still enjoy the short game. You can be so creative.
yeah, well, you know what? As we age, it's easier to practice on the short game. Not as much effort.
That's right.
Oh, and by the way, between the two of you, a 7-2 playoff record. Phil, you won all three of your events in a playoff, and Hal, you were 4-2 in playoffs. At that point, I'm thinking, just get me to extra holes.
I was very fortunate to birdie the first hole all three times. Somebody was looking. The guy on the shoulder, this shoulder or this shoulder, one of them was looking out for me. I don't know which one, but they were looking out for me.
Playoffs are always fun. They're a little nerve-wracking, but they're fun.
Wait, we always hear, were there any deals ever made on the first tee of the playoff hole? We've as a non-professional golfer, we always heard stories that guys would have a little handshake agreement that we were splitting the purse. I don't believe it.
Hal, I can't.
Don't believe it.
I wouldn't believe it. Hal, you said on many occasions, I've read a lot of your interviews, the reason you played was to win, not to come in second, not to make money. You made that distinction talking about in Atlanta one year where you went for the green on the last hole, tied for the lead, I think you were.
Yeah.
And how Jackie Burke had talked to you about that. Why do you play the game? And for me, I was never in a position to win as much as Hal. But that was a position I trained for. That was what I dreamed about, and put me near that lead, and that is what it's all about. I mean, the emotions that you feel, the things that you're feeling, and being able to channel that into focus and enjoyment, it's everything.
Well, while I was in Carmel, one of the things that my wife Stacy and I like to do is we go to art galleries a lot. And anyway, we saw this little boy, a bronze of this little boy that had just hit a shot, and he was in his finished position, and he's got this big smile on his face, and the name of it is "I Thought I Could." And it just really endeared me because my dad my dad was very involved in my game, and he would ask me, "What did you try that for?" And I said, "I thought I could." I played golf that way. I thought I could do it, and that's what you're talking about, Phil. I didn't do things that I didn't think I could. I mean, some of it might have appeared to be risky, But I had that shot somewhere in there. I had to just get it out,
Did
You
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 buy the
understand
statue?
that, don't you, Phil?
I want to hear first if you bought the statue.
I did. I
I
did.
knew it. I
I
knew it.
did. I did. I couldn't stand it. I had to.
I think I took that a step further, as evidenced by my shot on the 71st hole at the Players that year. Sometimes I hit that shot even if I didn't think I could. I just wanted to see if I could.
All right, Phil, I got to get into the second part of this, which is the getting behind the microphone. How did this come about, and what was the transition like?
I was so lucky. I tell you what, Mark, I was so lucky. I never envisioned myself doing TV at all. And my manager at the time, I was done playing the tour. I was doing some teaching with Jim Flick and Mike Malaska, and manager came up and said, "Hey, ESPN." This was in 2001. ESPN is trying out some folks, and would you like me to see if I can get you a tryout? And I said, "Sure." And so um, I did. I got a couple of events with ESPN. It went really well, and that got me started. And doing cable golf, early round golf, there's a beauty to early round golf in that you have a little more time to talk about things to because you don't have quite the pressure of the situation coming down to a head at the end of the tournament. And it allowed me to do some things like I followed Tiger over the course of my TV career quite a bit on Thursday and Fridays. And when we get done, every single time we get off air, I went straight to the range and I watched Tiger practice. From 2002 through 2005, that was a pretty good part of Tiger's career. I watched him practice probably 30 times or more in that span. You know what amazed me? Hal, you know what amazed me about that? 30 times I watched this guy who's kicking everybody's tail. I watched him practice, and he practiced differently than everybody else. He worked on different stuff. He hit 70% of the shots he would hit following his round were three-quarter or less shots. They weren't full shots. They were
Right.
these little soft draws, soft cuts, with a wedge up through a six iron or a 5 iron, controlling his distance and his trajectory. No one else is doing this on the range. And the one thing that struck me was that not one person ever came down to watch him. Not one time. Now, I didn't go up and talk to him. I respected his space. I stayed back behind. I talked to Stevie at times, but I didn't bother Tiger, but I watched. It was fascinating. And not one other player ever came over and watched. And I don't know how and when we came out, I know that I watched Ray Floyd. I watched, hey, Andy Bean. He's a big guy. How the hell does he play? And I watched guys. I watched Weiskopf hit wedges at the Hilton Head one time off this nasty grass on the range, and I looked at his wedge and have a groove on it, and every ball was flighted perfect. You watched guys to see what you could pick up. How can I get a little bit better? You talked in your interviews about always striving to get a little bit better. Well, you don't have to change your golf swing to get better, but you can pick up some little nuances about the game.
Right.
And no one did that with Tiger. I never understood it.
Tiger had an air about him, and everybody was a little bit in awe of him. You know, he had a different air, and his interview with Curtis threw everybody for a loop. Whenever he said, "I play to win," and I expect to win, and I mean, Curtis looked at him like, "You'll learn, son." I mean, I think we all got the lesson.
We learned.
We
He
learned.
did have an error, but that didn't mean you couldn't go watch. Jack had an error, but got to go watch Jack. Or other guys did Weiskopf, those guys. So we went and watched and see what we could pick up.
Yeah. I don't have an answer for that. I don't know why. I was done. I quit after 04. So
I mean, I'm with you, Phil. I think I at the Wells Fargo one year, I think I went over on the range on a Wednesday afternoon and watched VJ Singh hit range ball after range ball with a bottle of water there and a club sticking out, and he hits this fade and he's sitting there working on hitting that fade. And I mean, just hitting ball after ball after ball after ball, and you're just amazed at how much time and effort he's putting into that same shot.
Well, absolutely. And how you talk about having an error about you, VJ had an error about him
yeah,
too.
he did.
big, physically intimidating guy. And we were at Doral one time. I'm doing TV, and it's out kind of early in the morning, and it was on Wednesday, I guess. And it might have been Thursday. Maybe it was when we were going to play. I mean, he was well before his tee time, but there was one of the other golf courses right to the left of number one was a red course. And he's over on the side of the putting green on the upslope in the rough, hitting drivers out of the rough, off the upslope. And so I'm in my cart. I'm driving around looking at the golf course, and I see him over there. So I stop. I'm on the other side of the putting green. I'm 30, 40 yards away from him. And I stop, and I'm just sitting there in my cart, just kind of watching this, thinking to myself, this is pretty amazing. What is he trying to accomplish? Trying to get through the ball, obviously. What's he doing? And he turns around and gives me one of these. Look. And I went, hey, am I bothering you over here? I'm 30 yards away from you. What am I doing to bother you? Nothing. You're fine. It's okay. I mean, you do the same with Tiger. I mean, what will you what? I'm going to stand here and watch you if I want to.
So that begs the question, Phil, in all the time that you've spent doing TV work, did you ever make anybody mad, any player mad about what you said about him? Did anybody ever come up to you and say, hey?
No one ever came up afterwards and said anything to me. I tried to call the game honestly. I tried to be 100% honest. If you hit a bad shot, I'm going to say you hit a bad shot. It's a bad shot. I'm sorry. If you hit a good shot, I'm going to say it's a great shot. I'm going to praise you every chance I have because you're one of the best players in the world. You're doing something that other people dream about. But to that extent, I'm not going to say when you hit a bad shot, I'm not going to say, well, that was okay, because it wasn't. So I just try to tell the truth. And I don't think, evidently, that or my size, one of the two, no one ever came up and said, hey, what the hell were you talking about when you said that? Because I tried to keep some integrity and some honesty in what I said. So no one ever approached me about it.
Well, you were great. You are a great commentator. You are respectful. You know how hard the game is, and you tell it like it is, which is the way anybody would want.
That's it. I will tell you one funny story. We were talking at oh no, I'm having a brain fart. One of the from Ireland, Darren Clark is a big fisherman, and he had a career day. He caught 4 permit on a fly rod, which is unbelievable. And I said, hey, Darren, you get over number 13 after you tee off. We're going to interview you. Talk to you about that. He's okay. So I asked him a question about golf. Then I asked him, so tell us about this day you had fishing. And he lights up, and he's just talking. I caught these permit. It was great. It was awesome. And he goes down on this par 5. He's going to lay up on his second shot. After we had talked about this, and he cold shanks his second shot. And I'm thinking, oh, God, I got him so far out of his friggin' deal. He's thinking about fishing. I mean, he howser rocketed it to the right. But he never came and said, hey, that's your fault.
Did he give you a look?
No, he went on. It was fine.
He's trying to figure out where that howser rocket came from.
It's on the inside.
Well, Phil, we really appreciate you taking time to talk with us. It's been a great time, and I know Hal appreciates it. I appreciate both of you and the banter back and forth, and we look forward to catching up with you again another time.
Absolutely, this is great stuff. I look forward to being on another time. Call me anytime. This is fun for me.
Yeah, nice.
Thanks, Phil. You've been a friend for a long time.
Yep,
same here. Always respected you, Hal. Even when I hit my ball over you on the 13th tee at Q School at Waterwood that year.
Oh,
you remember that?
I do remember that now that you brought that up. I mean, what a place that was.
I missed by a couple. It was, yep. But thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and Hal, welcome back this week, and we'll catch back up with you in 2 weeks, and we'll spin the wheel and see who we're going to have for a guest then. We'll have Todd Burrell on with me next week. Actually, I think we're going to have John McGinnis on June 10th. So that's been booked. Yeah. So we look forward to that one as well. But again, that's the Be the Right Club Today podcast presented by Makefield Putters.
Thank you for listening to Be the Right Club Today with your host, Hal Sutton and Mark Greenhalgh. Presented by Makefield Putters.
The preceding episode was a production of Moonlight Media Works in association with Walk Marketing.